Welcome to the Empowered Woman Retreat, where we are diving deep on powerful insights and tools to break free of what's been holding us back in business, love, and life. And I am Kara, your host, and as well as a transformation coach, and I'm thrilled to have you here. Today's session, we are actually focused on aligning your life with the fierce desires of your body and soul. And we are so fortunate to have the incredible Jennifer Ackad with us today. She is an authentic and soul embodiment mentor. She is an authentic transformational coach and an international best-selling co-author. She actually left a mechanical engineering career in 2010 to follow her soul calling and to live a life by design. And for nearly a decade, she immersed herself in yoga therapy and other self-healing schools. She's dove deep into all sorts of body and self-awareness practices to discover what she now calls the home within. She is the creatrix of the authentic and soul embodiment, living movement, and transformation system. And she has since been guiding people to create space in their bodies and in their lives in order to awaken their wisdom and the truth and the answers that they hold inside. Her mentoring and group programs are powerful and intimate containers where participants get to reignite their innate sacred flame. They ground their essence and reconnect to their authentic essence and voice and their exquisite soul paths. By honoring their deepest desires and highest calling, they shift their lifestyle and activate their own playground, manifesting a creative and fiercely aligned life and leading it as embodied souls, which creates empowerment for themselves and for others. Jennifer, it's so great to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much, Kara. I'm so pleased to be here and to share what wants to be shared in these lines.
Yeah, just to start, I wondered if you would talk a little bit about embodiment in general. What is
Mm.
that concept, and what are the important things that people need to keep in mind about embodiment?
Yeah, what is embodiment? It's a word that we started using everywhere now, but 15 years ago it was so foreign to speak about embodiment. But now embodiment is like in the body, like we are a body. The body is conditioned. It has wounds, it has memories, it has social structures inside. So, embodiment is actually bringing attention inside the body. So, again, this concept, where is my attention if it's not in the body? Like what's this thing? The thing is, we're scattered. Our attention has learned to eject itself out of body sensations, out of who we are inside. We started giving a lot of power to who we are in relation to the outside rather than the relationship to the inside. So embodiment is actually bringing back our attention inside the body and realizing that all the power is within. And there's a process to embodiment. The fastest explanation would be bringing attention to the sensations of the body and recreating an intimate connection to the body, with the body, the tissues, physicality, right? Not only the energetical body, but also the physical sensation. And then it actually makes us tap into the power that our tissue has, our inner bank that I like calling.
I love that. That is such a beautiful description. And but so much of society has actually taught us to externalize. And so some of this is a bit of a foreign concept. We kind of take for granted the amazing temple that our bodies are for us. And so it can be a process to reattune and really learn those nuances. Are there certain things that you find are really helpful for people, maybe that have some fear of going within, or like aren't sure how they interpret what they're sensing because they've had such an external focus and awareness?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, it's a process. It first comes from a deep decision, right? Because to go inside the body and to really feel what we have avoided feeling for a long time requires a lot of courage. It's very foreign. It's like it's uncharted territories at the beginning. And we're like, wow, it's for me, it started with feeling my hand. I was on a plane in 2009 and I had a strong calling that I needed to feel my body more because, you know, I started having some body symptoms. And this is how my path, let's say, opened much more. And I was on a plane and I felt my hand. And for me to just feel my hand, the sensations in my hand, so people could actually start with this. If you're watching and you've never really felt body sensations deeply, start with your hand, feel your hand, and stay with it in presence, circulation, heat, you know, like temperature, tickling, everything that moves within the hand. And notice what happens. And it's scary at the beginning because you're like, what's this? And we are facing a lot of what we call shadows. You know, the fears that are lodged in our tissues are all going to become apparent when we start bringing attention in. So the process is patience, you know, for sure, desire and willingness to go inside, to realize the benefits of going inside. Because yes, it's a bit difficult at the beginning to start opening the paths and the pathways inside, but once you start feeling and receiving the energy coming back and filling your bank from within, and that you see that you can reinvest your energy more in alignment with who you are authentically, with your design, with deep desires, with your true message, with the wisdom that you have from within, with, you know, the dreams that you've always dreamed of. You know, there's so much benefits. Then you're like, well, I'm not going to compromise anymore this connection and this intimacy. So it becomes the reverse. It becomes, I'm now choosing fundamentally to live from within out rather than from out imposed on within. So yeah, so the process, as much as it can be simple in explanation, okay, bring attention in and feel your body, it is complex because it requires presence and it requires discipline. It requires also to face fears.
One of the things that you mentioned about the clarity that comes, it's almost like that tuning in. It's this pathway to knowing who we are, understanding what our values are, what's important to us. Would you mind talking a little more about like how that body piece and getting in tune really holds those keys to things like intuition and freedom ultimately?
For sure. So freedom, we have to understand, not we have to understand, but probably a lot of people on this interview watching this heard the saying, as within, so without, right?
Yeah.
So if we are seeking freedom outside, we want a freer life, you know, we want to have more opportunities, we want to travel more, we want to have more spaciousness in our relationships, we want to have more flow in our businesses, you know, whatever that is, in reality there's always a component inside the body that is the direct access to manifesting this. So it goes with manifestation. If we want more freedom outside in our life, we have to check inside of our body, where am I not free? Where do I feel like all tensed up? Where is it not flowing inside my body? And the more we create that space within, and circulation starts occupying more, starts being more flowing, we realize right away that on the outside something starts unlocking. And it's not magic, it just works like this. We are always vibrational matches to our realities. So if we start changing the reality within, we change our vibration. As a body technology, our vibration changes, our frequency changes from the spaciousness that we have, and therefore we're not going to make the same choices in life, and what we are going to manifest is also going to be different. It's going to be more in resonance with what we hold within. So I'm not going to go too deep in this theme, but it is a very deep topic, because life always gives us a reflection back of what we hold, so we can work with life and see what life brings us as a mirror in front of us, and do the opposite. Oh, wow, look at this. My relationship is always in conflict with this theme. Okay, well, let me look inside. Where am I having a dialogue and beliefs around this topic? Where am I holding this structure inside? And we go in, we feel the body, we realize where it stands and where it's like really, really controlling this belief. And we start releasing it with obviously some techniques, but mainly with presence in the body and not giving too much power to the belief system that we don't want to be creating in our life anymore. Makes
I
sense?
love how you're describing that, because so much of our culture and society tends to have people thinking about the body as separate, and if there are symptoms or things that we're feeling, oh, there's this one thing to point toward, or let's mask that symptom so that we can just trudge through or get through life. But there's so much empowerment by this presence that you're talking about, and really going in and navigating that internal relationship, and realizing those connectors with the thought patterns and the emotional connectors, and how all of that interplays into physical symptoms, and resolution can come so naturally and beautifully by attuning and having these embodiment practices.
Exactly. It's attuning to the body and having a love affair with our body, like really having a love affair with deeply who we are and falling in love with this essence that we hold. It's all inside. And you said something important, that there's a tendency to compensate, to distract, right? You might have not used exactly these words, but it's very typical. There's a discomfort inside, or there's a part of ourselves, or of our power, that we repress and we decide to shut down, or some desires that we don't want to acknowledge. But what happens, it creates a short circuit inside the body. The nervous system actually stops making us see and feel this part of ourselves, because we're not in agreement with it. Our mind is controlling this part. So what happens is, instead of embracing this part of ourselves, we're going to take the attention from who we are and go and invest it outside in distractions, in compensations, because the energy needs to go somewhere. But when we realize that we are distracting ourselves because there's a discomfort inside, we do the reverse. I release the distraction. I stay with the pressure and the discomfort, bringing the attention inside the body, feeling the shakiness inside, hearing what this shakiness is about by staying present. And that's the healing process. And then the energy comes out, and then our body starts moving in a different way, acknowledging the desire. But of course, it requires courage, because then the body wants to move as the desire says, as the design says.
That is so good. I love how you described that. And you brought up another really important point about that sense of control. Often people actually seek a sense of safety through that illusion of control. And how does this practice actually help us find a better flow, and maybe release some of the tendencies to control, and find a different source of safety, and embracing that inner compass within?
Yes, safety is within. So you said it, it's an illusion to feel safe in external structures. External structures can offer safety, right? Because they provide work, they provide status, they provide money, they provide, but if we are in these structures without connecting first to our inner safety, it becomes codependent. It becomes me without the structure equals death, equals something bad is going to happen to me. So there's nothing wrong with being involved in external structures. Like, life is so full of structures, we need structures, right? But the most important piece to not be in control is to know that safety is within. It's literally at the root side of our body. around the pelvic diaphragm, the pelvic floor that is commonly named, the pelvis, the womb space for the women, all the sexual organs. We need a deep, deep, intimate connection with the tissues of this part of the body, because that's where our ground is. That's where our knowing, our truth is. This is where our compass is. And once we are intimate, once we are connected to this part, we are honestly less and less controllable or manipulable. Nobody can really impose their truth on us because we always have this compass. We always go in and check. So we play in life rather than be played by external structures. And that's when we release ourselves from codependent dynamics, either with a boss or with a partner, or people playing in our wounds and the fact that we're not safe to keep us somewhere. We are safe. This is our fundamental birthright. But from birth, already wounds happen. So it is a process to reclaim this sovereignty or this liberation, to then be in true devotion. To then be in true devotion to life and where life wants to take you. And sometimes life will want to take you in systems. And also, life will also accept that you need, for your nervous system, external structure. So that's another awareness piece. So we have our safety within. From the safety within, we can say, okay, I'm feeling my safety within. My nervous system is too shaky right now to not have this external structure. That's why we don't tell somebody having their
Jennifer, are you still there?
yeah.
Okay, we had a little bit of a freeze on the internet, but we're back here. And Jennifer was talking about how we find that sense of safety within, and then those choices in the process through external safety structures and how the two interplay.
Yes. So yeah, I was sharing that it's important to have the safety within first, and then from that sovereign place and that liberated place, we then choose the external structures with the awareness. So sometimes we need the external structure because our nervous system is not resilient enough to handle the amount of light that comes with freedom. So freedom comes with responsibility, right? And when we follow our soul path, it comes with a lot of potency, a lot of potential. But if we don't want this potential to be redirected into distractions, we need to build resilience in our nervous system. And for this, we need the ground, and the ground is the safety within. So it all goes together, I guide people on their authentic and soul embodiment path, right? And it comes from accepting what we have in the body and accepting what and where our soul is calling us. So the frequency and the light that comes with soul, without going to woo, it's like electricity. We feel visions, we feel dreams, right? We can see images, but this to
I think
train,
we froze just a little bit there
and we
again.
need and we need to train our nervous system to absorb this light. So it's embodied and not just ideas, and then nothing.
Jennifer, it's so wise what you're sharing here, because one of the things that I think people often can get frustrated by in their empowerment and healing process is is the patience required? It's like you make this decision to develop and transform and grow, and yet there is a bit of a time process that's required to create that space to be able to hear the messages more, and until we allow that to come into play, we need to have that space to clear out so that we can hear the messages, right? And that's part of what you're describing, I think.
100%. Space is kind of the number one ingredient of why we do embodiment practices, to create space between the thoughts and our presence, between the emotions and our presence, between all our body sensations and the presence. And it's kind of taking this step back and kind of getting to know ourselves. How is this technology working? And not giving too much power to thoughts, emotions, sensations, even, because this is not who we are as essence. The more we anchor ourselves in who we are as essence, the more we are free, the more we have space. And from this spaciousness, then we hear and we listen to the messages coming from within as inner guidance and inner compass, or from, let's say, bit more divine source and soul, which is a different texture. So space is number one. This is why I have practiced for the last 15 years. This is why I keep practicing embodiment practices. This is why I meditate. This is why I have my own routines around spiritual hygiene and clearing my energy field and welcoming my body and anchoring on Mother Earth through my bones. All of these are part of the techniques that I use so that I find the ground, I find the spaciousness, I listen to the guidance, and then my body responds to life and life force energy rather than reacts to external situations. So, and this is really key. We are learning to respond rather than react to outside situations as victims per se, right?
Jennifer, you cut out just a little bit, and you had just mentioned something being very key about learning to, and then it broke a little bit, instead of recognizing something external to self. I just wanted to make sure we captured what you were sharing there.
So where did it broke, you said?
The one of the keys was learning, and then it paused.
One of the keys was learning about creating space. Did you hear the whole thing about creating
Yes,
space?
yeah, about the space, yeah.
Okay, so we'll just restart then. So the number one ingredient is creating space in the body, right? And
Yeah.
through creating space, and through creating space, it's going to support us in listening to the messages that the body has. So it will be a responding to life instead of reacting to life. And yes,
That's so important, the responding versus reacting. And I'm sure that most people can relate to an experience in life, in an important relationship, for example, where they may have just reacted, just boom, like in a situation, and they took pause, reflecting, thinking, gosh, I really wish I would have handled that differently. But it often is a result of there not being the space, and that trigger is happening so quickly in the nervous system that there is just that reaction instead of response. So the more this that we create these practices for the space, the more empowered we are in being able to show up in life in that conscious way, in that really beautiful responsive way, instead of reactionary.
exactly. Yes, exactly this. Did you hear the part where I was speaking about identifying to emotions, body sensations, and thoughts? This was captured.
I think that was part of what got cut out. So yes, please remind about that.
Okay, so yeah, so the step back that we take through the spaciousness um, gives us the opportunity to not identify to the emotional realm or to the thoughts that we have, or even to the body sensations that we have, because at the end of the day, we are not this. This is the body piece, but we are something far greater than this, which is more anchoring in essence of who we are. So as we're anchoring in the essence of who we are, we notice how this body technology operates. And then from there, we are able to respond to life rather than to react. So we're not a victim of external situations anymore. We are creators, taking all this life force energy in and then responding with the awareness and the clarity that we receive from within.
Gosh, that is beautiful. I love the way you describe that. What can somebody expect in terms of how much time they would spend, maybe in a daily practice with embodiment, before they would really see results, and how that can actually shift for them in their life experience, and maybe even their choices for lifestyle, that embodiment becomes a piece of, like, this is a non-negotiable because it's so valuable.
Yeah, 100%. I would say, like it's about, let's say, an hour per day, or an hour,
Yeah.
let's say 5 to 6 days a week. For they're gonna feel it after 1 hour, like with the type of practice that I offer, like it's so deeply anchored. But I would say to really bring it in a lifestyle, I would say a 6 months,
Yeah.
because it's a change of habit. It's really starting to live from within out. And yes, so it's 6 months of, like consistency, bringing awareness in. Then it becomes kind of starts becoming not a second nature, but a second nature to practice. And then it becomes more and more a second nature, where during your day you're having awarenesses. It becomes you become embodied. So I would say 6 months to a year that, a person chooses this as a lifestyle. And then life shifts, of course. You cannot start practicing like this without your life shifting and you remodeling your life. It doesn't need to be drastic, because this practice is really grounded and it's meant to have a ground before making big changes. So it's ground first, awareness, then changes.
In terms of one of the most important things for people to remember, is like their decision and commitment to the practice, and I know that's something that you have talked about before in your work, and I think it's a helpful reminder for people, to just have that patience, as you mentioned, the length of time that it can take for people to actually start, seeing a shift in their systems, and also just, in their lifestyle overall. So those were some pieces that I wanted to take a pause and just visit with a little bit. So, Jennifer, in the spirit of that idea around dedication and decision and commitment, in this practice, is there anything that you would want to share around that, just in terms of how important that is for creating a powerful life?
I mean, I'm very sold on embodiment. I would not be
Yeah.
where I am right now in my life without embodiment. So, of course, I'm going to invite everybody to go and tap into what their power is within themselves, because this is what it's our creative power, it's our creative potential. And this is where we actually have the clarity coming from within. Or else we use energy, we just don't know where we're going. We're giving our power away to external structures, like we were saying. So for me, it's primordial to have a practice that connects us intimately with our body. It's self-love, that's the first in the equation, self-love, and this space that we offer ourselves, so that we operate from a place of authenticity in relationships to whatever outside. And it connects us also to the divine, to God, to this infinite source of love. So it is important. It is something that, personally, without it, I don't know, I would be compensated. I would be compensating to gain energy. I would, yes, it's either you take the energy from inside and use it, or you're constantly looking for energy on the outside. And I'm not talking introvert extrovert type of personalities, because in our design we're either fulfilled by being introvert or fulfilled by being extrovert, but I'm speaking about this intrinsic bank of energy that we all have access to when we pause and we sit down and we rest within ourselves. And it can be through meditation, but it can also be through some kind of body movement and dance. The important is to feel where, to feel our bodies, to be intimately connected to it, and to give attention to what it wants to share with us, to give it its
And
right value in our life.
it's like what you were mentioning earlier about some of the codependent dynamics that can show up if we're externalizing and not going within as much. And I thought it was so profound that you shared that side of codependency, because I think most people usually connect that with a lack of boundaries and more on that side of things.
Yes.
And this is such another important area that really brings full attention to what can contribute to codependent patterns and how we can break free of them.
For sure. So boundaries is something that we also check inside, Is it a yes? Is it a no? And the more we are intimate with our body and releasing the toxins, releasing the falseness, the less our body is going to accept us being on a non-authentic path. So we are connected to the body, we are in life situations, and then our compass says yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. It says, it is choosing rather than our mind based on survival mechanisms. So it shifts from survival into creation. It shifts from I'm doing this because I'm scared to lose, and it brings us into I'm doing this because I'm inspired to create. It's a totally different way of living. We are inspired to create, we are propelled by life force. Therefore, we barely have a choice to move forward with this energy compared to I have to, I'm obligated to, or else there's a consequence, which is the conditioning and the survival mechanism. It's a different way of operating when we decide to have a certain practice that connects us intimately with our body, because our body, if we're intimate with it, well, let's think about it. If we are intimate with our body, we know our boundaries. Like, we know what's too much for our body when we are intimate and loving our body so much. We don't have our boundaries crossed when we are so connected to ourselves.
I love the way you describe that. It's so powerful, and it creates a vision of something that gets to be easy and flowing and magical and incredibly empowering. It's just trusting in the practice and the time for that to actually start flowing, right? And allowing that to be the reality of the journey.
100%. It is a path that requires courage, like I said. So I'm not here making
Yeah.
false promises that it's an easy path. It is a path that requires courage because it requires this intimacy, and with intimacy, it means releasing fear and bringing more love in the body. So, but it is beautiful. I would never exchange anything with this path of authentic and soul embodiment living. It's so much of jewels come with this.
Yeah, gosh, it's
Many
so
jewels.
inspiring. And Jennifer, you have a generous gift that you have offered to share with all the audience, and I wanted to give you a chance to talk about that a little bit as well.
Yeah, so it's in the format of a workshop with a few videos and a workbook, but it's Discovering Home Within and Fire Dance Alchemy. It's two different embodiment practices using the main principles that I use in my personal life, which is gravity and anchoring the bones and letting the body flow organically without imposing anything. So we are working the within so the without can start changing. So it's powerful, powerful practices that will bring intimacy with your body. Fire Dance Alchemy is more around dancing and the juiciness of your body and how to embody different versions of leaders in your life to propel your life. And Discovering Home Within is how the title says it. It's home within, this calm peace found in your ground and presence and depth. So it's one that is, let's say, more vertical aspect of life, and the other one is more the horizontal aspect of life. And both together is, connecting at the heart level. So it's complete. So you can do one or two of them, and there's a small workbook and give me your feedbacks, reply to the email after receiving the practices to let us know how the practice went. And with these practices already, something you're going to start feeling the effects of having this deep intimacy with your body tissues.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful. And the link for that is below. So make sure to check that out. And if you haven't already signed up for the private Facebook group, I really encourage you to do that as well. It is an incredible container of like-minded souls and a great place for additional support and inspiration and encouragement. So definitely check that out as well. And just in wrapping up, Jennifer, is there anything else that you would like to share just overall about embodiment and kind of the principles that we've talked about today, and just this beautiful and very courageous path? Because I'm with you. There's definitely courage. It's not for the faint of heart.
I mean, trust the wisdom that you have inside. That's what I want to share, because it's guiding you on your soul path, and your soul path is your service to the world. And with this service that you're offering the world comes all the answers and all the abundance. Again, it's not a magic pill, but it comes with so much of texture. Life becomes juicy again, and it tastes so good, everything becomes amplified. So it's like being on medicine without medicine. You know what I mean? It's like it's being connected to source. And personally, it's a path I would never exchange for anything else.
Gosh, it's amazing. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And thank you, everyone. We will see you next time.
Bye bye. Thank you.